Hi guys, it's Mandy here. I'm coming to you from my bed because I've got a bit of a tummy bug, so sorry about that. But I'm just watching something at the moment that is very interesting. Talking about the whole transgender thing. There's this video on this channel here. Let me look it up. Unapologetic is the channel name. Alma Ekpunobi's Unapologetic channel. She's watching this video of this guy who is now claiming to be transracial. He has transitioned from British to Korean. He thinks he's Korean. And she's watching this exchange interview between this guy and this black woman, and she mentions the fact that it's very interesting how the black woman makes the argument that you can't claim to be transracial because you don't have the same experiences as people who have actually lived in Korea. You are not Korean, and you cannot just change your race like that. And then Alma, she makes this very interesting point, which is very true, is the fact that she knows that if that woman had been sat in front of a trans person, as in a transsexual person who has changed their sex, she would not give that same argument. And that's a very interesting point. I can't say anything about that because I don't know this woman. I don't know whether that would be her stance or not. But maybe that would be a good argument to say that she would not actually hold the same stance if she was faced with a transsexual person. I don't know. But there was a very interesting point that was made, which was, he says, this is my truth. And it's that made me think very carefully about something. It suddenly popped into my head, the fact that the term my truth, if you can claim something is your truth, therefore it is your right to demand that other people behave the way you want them to behave and see the world through your eyes. Who else in this world has done that in history? Who went down in history as a terrible, terrible human being? I'm sorry, was that not Hitler? Hitler thought that the Germans, Aryan German people, were superior to everyone else. He believed that completely and utterly, and he tried to force the world to accept that. He didn't just try to force the world to accept that. He said that if you do not accept that, I will kill you. And he killed millions of people. He killed hundreds of thousands of millions of people because they were not the way he wanted them to be. And he killed anyone, he tried to kill everyone who disagreed with him. That is where we are going to head if we continue to allow these people to fight for their truths. Their truths and their demand that we obey their demands will lead to that nonsense happening again. We will end up with another Hitler. In fact, we are essentially having a non-real war against these people because of the fact that people are out there attacking others for disagreeing with them. That girl who fought against, what's his name, Leah Thomas, she fought against the belief that it was acceptable that Leah Thomas should get a trophy in a women's swimming competition. And she stood up and she said it's not fair. And what happened to her? She got physically attacked by the transsexual movement. Physically attacked. This is what will happen to people if they continue to allow it. It will get worse. It will get worse. There will be physical attacks on people. We've already had threats by these people. We've had threats where men have been saying, if we are not permitted to enter a woman's bathroom, we will cause you harm. Men have said that. This is where it leads to, guys. It will lead to another Hitler. So you have got to put your foot down and say, we are not going to allow this, because we don't want to end up with another Hitler. We don't want to end up with another scenario where some crazy person at the top of the chain says, if you don't obey these rules, we will then start killing you because we want you to obey us. And if you don't obey us, we will harm you. That is where we will end up. We are on that path already, people. Think about it. The evidence is irrefutable. It's in front of you. You cannot argue with it. People have been attacked. They have been assaulted. They have been insulted. They have been abused online. They have been threatened because they do not want to participate in these people's fantasies. If you want to live your life isolated and alone, living your little fantasy, by all means, go and live in your isolated little world. But do not expect normal people to participate in your fantasies. We do not have to participate in your fantasy. You can go and live in your fantasy world if you want to, but do not expect normal people to participate if they do not wish to. And do not force us to do so, because then you are a dictator. It is dictatorship to force people to agree to something that we do not agree to. Simple as that. And I find it horrifying to think that this man is mutilating himself because he believes that the aesthetic of Koreans is all it takes to be Korean. He goes, oh, I'm learning the language and I've learned how to cook their food and I've had surgery to make my eyes look a little bit slanty, and I've had surgery to narrow my chin and to pinch my nose a little bit, and apparently he's going to have surgery to reduce his penis. Apparently he's going to have surgery to reduce his genitalia because he thinks that Koreans are smaller than white people. Now, I can't say anything about that, but you know what? That's disgusting. It's disgusting. He thinks he can assume another country's ethnicity simply by changing the way he looks. I cannot claim to be Japanese just by putting on a kimono. Okay? If I want to become Japanese, I cannot become Japanese because a Japanese person is more than just their looks. I can become a Japanese citizen if I go and live in Japan and sign a contract saying I consider myself now a Japanese citizen, but I cannot become Japanese physically. It is not physically possible. I could get surgery done to make myself look more Japanese, but I am not going to be Japanese. Firstly, it's not possible because of the fact that I am dark-skinned. Point to a dark-skinned Japanese person. It's not physically possible. I cannot make myself Japanese. Oh, you'd be probably sitting there going, oh, well, you could, you could color your skin. You could paint yourself white like Michael Jackson. But, it's like, that's not reality. I can't do that. It's not physically possible for me to change my... It's insane. And the fact that this guy thinks he can do that and get away with it, I'm sorry, it's so incredibly insulting to the Koreans. Frankly, I would not blame the Koreans if they banned him from coming to their country. You can't claim an ethnicity any more than you can claim a sex. It's incredibly insulting. It is no less of an insult for him to be doing what he's doing with his body, mutilating himself to make himself look Korean and then claim he's Korean, any more than it would be for a white person to put black makeup on their face and claim that they're black, which apparently another woman has done. a woman has done that. She's curled her hair and put black makeup on her face, or over tanned herself, and then claimed that she's a black person and she wants to go and live in Africa somewhere, and then she wants to be accepted as an African. And I'm sorry, but no African is going to look at you and go, yes, you're African, because African people are more than just their appearance. African tribes are more than just their appearance. It is their traditions, it is their lifestyle, it is the history of their culture, it is everything that you have lived with. It's within your genetics. I mean, I always say that, being a Venezuelan who lives in England, I don't know how true this is. I could be theoretical, but I always say I do not do well with the cold. I mean, we're in June right now, and I am wearing mittens and a vest, and I'm in under my bed, not just because I'm sick, but also because I get cold. I get cold a lot more than I think English people do, because my genetics and being from a hot climate means that I am probably more adapted to hot weather. I am able to withstand warm weather better than someone who comes from England. I am genetically engineered for it. If you take a lion out of the savannah and bring it to England and then let it live in the wild here, it will not survive, because of the fact that it does not know how to adapt to the cold weather during the winter months. It would not be able to survive during the winter months. It does not have the instinct or the genetic coding to be able to withstand the weather. Huskies are designed for living in the Antarctic weather or Canadian weather. It's not possible to change that. It's like the famous saying, you can take the whatever out of the country or the place, but you can't take the place out of the person. That famous saying. You can take the person out of the wherever, but you can't take the wherever out of the person, because it's within them. You can't take the male out of the male. It's not possible. You can change their physical features and they can delude themselves all they want, but they are not going to be female, no matter how much they wish they could be. You are not female, and women are never going to be males. I mean, it's scary to think that children think they can transition into being the opposite sex. And they go to these doctors, and these doctors say, well, we'll do these procedures on you. They don't even tell them. They don't tell them what these procedures entail. These procedures entail things like having, flesh taken from your arm or flesh taken from a leg or somewhere else of your body to construct a body part that is non-functional. It can't work the same way. The biology of a man's genitalia is designed to work in a specific way that no surgery can recreate. I've heard that people who have had construction down there for male genitalia, in order for it to work, they have to have a physical pump. A physical pump has to be used in order for it to work, because it's like you cannot get it to work otherwise, and it will never feel like a real thing. It will never feel like that. It's insane to think that this is what people believe. And we've also heard stories of parents whose children have attempted to kill themselves because of the confusion that this ideology has left them in. They've been so confused. there was a story that I saw earlier about a man whose daughter attempted to kill herself because the school that she was at had been secretly conditioning her and increasing her confusion to the point where she didn't know whether she was female or male, and she thought she needed to transition, and the school was secretly changing this without telling her parents, and as a result, she ended up trying to kill herself. She was so miserable. She was so unhappy that she needed to off herself in order to save herself. That's what she thought. And as a result, her parents found out about it. They took her out of the school. They took her to therapists who were not going to add to the confusion. They weren't going to get involved in any of this nonsense. They were just trying to deal with the issue of her depression. And as a result, she calmed down. She returned to her normal state. She gained a sense of purpose. She gained a sense of happiness, and she was happy. And she didn't want to kill herself. And the only part of that video that scared me was the fact that he said that, oh, we're prepared to send her back to that school. I was like, no, don't do that. I would not send her back to any school. I would homeschool her from then on. I would have her homeschooled for the rest of her life, because I would not trust any institution to not do that again. I would not. So, guys, this is a really hard thing to fight against, but we really do need to fight against it. It is so bad for us. We are literally fighting World War III already. This is what World War III is. We are fighting again. We are fighting it already. And it is so sad and scary to think that this is all happening because people are so damaged up here that they feel the need to force others to help them fulfill the fantasies that are in their heads. They think the fantasy will make them happy. They think the fantasy will make them fulfilled. But it never will. They are victims of extremely malevolent evil. And I don't know what's going to happen, you know. I mean, it will crumble eventually. But we need to keep fighting in order for that to happen. We need to keep fighting against this insanity. So, there you have it, guys. So I'm going to leave it there for now. And I hope that anyone who's dealing with mental illness can push through it without having to transition. This transition stuff is really not good for people. It doesn't help your depression. It really doesn't. It just makes it worse. So I really hope that we can get through this together. So just keep fighting, guys, and I wish you all the best. I'll see you in the next video.